He goes mad for those ads, he's got a Trailer Jones.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trailer Jones. I am Brandon Jones, and I have Michael Huber.
Hello.
And Ben Moore with me.
Hey.
For a special E3 episode of Trailer Jones. Normally, we go through 3 trailers in Trailer Jones. We're going to go through 4, albeit the 4th one is very quick. Should be a very quick discussion, hopefully a very quick score, because it is a very quick trailer. But E3 was really big. There's all sorts of trailers to talk about. Had a lot of really great recommendations on social media. And of course, we want to thank our patrons on patreon.com/EasyAllies for making Trailer Jones happen. I'm very excited to be here post E3 to talk about my favorite trailers and potentially some favorite trailers from these boys at the table here. We will be talking about the reveal trailer for Cyberpunk 2077, the first time we actually get to see this game in motion. The second trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2. The reveal trailer for Resident Evil 2, the one with the rat, not the gameplay trailer, the one with the rat. And finally wrapping it up with Ridley's reveal from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
In 2077, they voted my city the worst place to live in America.
So this is our official Easy Allies E3 2018 trailer of the show. So I don't want to preload this too much. I really want both of you to be critical. I want you to be as honest as possible when grading these trailers. Yeah. This is my personal favorite trailer of the show. And it has been brought up, and I will completely take that criticism in that, like, a lot of my emotions are preloaded. And then this is a very Rockstar type of trailer. You know, this almost feels kind of like the same kind of humor we would see in a GTA trailer, or even the kind of quality of life that we would see in some of the recent Resident Evil, Red Dead Redemption trailers, where we just see what's going on in this world, and every single cut is just kind of a different vignette, a different slice of life. We're seeing lots of representations of different characters. There's lots of reveals about the lifestyle. There's just a lot of digging you can do into this trailer with your eyeballs. And so I think I'm really surprised at what we saw from this trailer. I would not have been surprised if we just got a little bit more of a reveal from Cyberpunk. Obviously, we got not only this trailer, but we got an amazing 50-minute gameplay demo that's shown at E3. But I always kind of want for a second to imagine we didn't see that gameplay demo. What if this was the only look that we got at Cyberpunk? If you can be as critical as possible, what do you think of this trailer, Ben Moore?
I think this trailer is extremely impressive. Just watching the beginning, something that strikes me so much is how kinetic the trailer is.
Good word.
Yeah, how well it keeps things in motion. So you're on the train basically, and then you get off of that, and like every shot that they cut to, especially in the beginning, there's somebody walking in front of the camera, or there's the kid playing VR, or there's somebody pulling up a gun. There's some sort of sharp movement that kind of helps the transition between the cuts that I think is really, really cool. And also how I like that they are establishing a clear connection between cuts. Like you see the guy on the plane who's like on fire and the attendants are trying to help him out, but he's jacked into something. And then you cut to somebody who's also jacked into something. And then you cut to somebody else who's also jacked into something. And so it's like, oh, okay, this is a big part of this world. A lot of people are jacked in. You're cutting between them very quickly. You're letting me know how pervasive this is. I think that's the thing between how it's edited and what they're showing. There's a very strong connection between all of it that I find super impressive.
Huber, you like world building.
Yeah.
You like towns.
Yes.
You like going into somewhere and seeing the characters that are there. This is a big old town.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that really impresses me is not only do we get this big city, we start in the city, we're on a subway, we see the map of the city, of the subway, we see the name of the city, and then we see lots of people from the streets into their apartments, and lots of skyscrapers. We also go to like a bar somewhere. We also go out into like maybe just like a vehicle yard or something that one guy's defending with the cool looking shotgun. We see kind of on sitting outside of like a gas station almost, and there's a bit of a quarrel. What do you think of this world that they're trying to sell in this trailer?
Every single shot is begging me to pause it to look at it. Every single shot in this trailer is showing a different type of character, showing like social statuses. You know, we see the stockbrokers up top, like going over different data. We see people, small-time crooks, like the robbery is clearly botched. We see people going about their business on the train in the beginning. And, you know, we joke about pacing, but I think the pacing of this trailer is so good because it doesn't hold on any one part for too long. So you're just getting a ton of information, a ton of different looks at this city in a very short amount of time. And that's what I really like, because every time it cuts away, I'm still processing what I'm seeing of the previous shot. And I love that.
You mentioned that this trailer is short. Could this trailer be longer? I don't know if it necessarily needs to be longer, but do you think this, from viewing it as many times as we have, I can't get enough of it, but do you think that there is a benefit to showing these little vignettes as fast as they do and leave you wanting more at the end of it?
I think it did it. I think it did it perfectly. I think it shows just enough, if we're not going to take the deep dive into gameplay and mechanics and plot, this is here is our world trailer, and I think they did an expert job of kind of setting up the denizens of this city and kind of the feel and the look and the vibe of it all.
One thing that I really like about this trailer is in the little vignettes that we see, there's never a really clear explanation about what we're looking at. I don't think, some trailers can be that jump around and show little bits like this. I think even with GTA, where like there's clearly the object or the character I need to be focusing on, the joke that they're telling, the slice of life that is coming across. And to me, it's never really that simple with a lot of this stuff. Even with like the kid playing VR, we were like, okay, obviously VR is gonna be very prevalent. People are gonna be really just cooped up in their own apartments, never leaving. If people are familiar with Ready Player One, they kind of paint that picture of, they say it's the lost generation because nobody goes outside anymore. But even with the kid play in VR, you see people in the background that are having a conversation. Like the more I see these little bits, the more I just keep going back and back into the frame and painting this picture that is not really as simple as just one character or one story that they're trying to tell. Ben, as someone who has told many stories in many videos that we have shown here at Easy Allies, do you feel that? And is there anything you could have possibly gotten out of this trailer that is not crammed into it?
I think the thing for me is you mentioned like kind of how these vignettes, right? Some of them are extremely dark. We see somebody getting shot in the face as bullets are crashing through the window. We see a kid ecstatic to play VR, and I think maybe, I guess what I could have used a little bit more of is, like, you're kind of hinting at the control that some people have. Maybe just a little bit more of that. Like, we see an image of, there's this moment where we see somebody like watching what looks to be like some sort of riot or some sort of like street conflict. I guess giving us a little bit more of how bad it is at the top. Or how bad it is at the bottom, I guess. We kind of just get a very broad spectrum, and maybe just picking one of them, either the good or the bad, and drilling in just a little bit more, I think would have helped with kind of my shape of this world.
One of the major criticisms levied against this trailer from the fan base is that this game surprised a lot of people at E3 from being in first person. Coming off of The Witcher, people thought it would be third person. They're not exactly sure if that's the best approach. A lot of people were probably frustrated with that didn't get a chance to see the gameplay demo and see a lot of the advancements that they have made. Would this trailer have benefited from maybe that pull in to the back, like BioShock style, to the back of the main character's head as the person gets into the car, so you can see, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know, see the HUD pop up.
No.
I don't know.
No.
It's tough for me to come up with a score with this because I don't have a lot of critiques. And if I am not really in the mood or able to critique something, does that mean it gets a perfect score? I think there are possible ways that they could have hinted at the gameplay, and I think I would have accepted this being like a little bit longer than it was. It is a press conference trailer, so they don't have a lot of time. But you say no, Huber. You want to expound upon that?
Yeah, just lastly, I want to say that this trailer set out to reintroduce the world to Cyberpunk 2077, and I feel like it did it perfectly. It said, hey, we haven't seen you guys in 5 years, you got a little cryptic tease, well, we're back, here's our game, but here is just a brief, the briefest of just frames. This is a frame trailer where it's just showing us the world and a little bit of the characters. not taking the deep dive. Later on, Jones, we're gonna get that slow moving, really deep, intense story trailer. We're gonna get that first person gameplay trailer. But in terms of saying, hey, we're back, here's a little frame of our game, it's still a ways off, but here's a little bit of what to expect. I think they just nailed it.
I'm a little tentative to give it the perfect score because I think the thing that is lacking for me in this, which is it's tough to criticize this, I gotta be honest, is we see V, we see what I'm assuming is a version of V because you will be able to customize your character. I would have liked maybe a little bit more. The vibe I get from this trailer from watching it again and again, and the vibe I got from the first time is like, this world's nuts. Good luck. Good luck trying to find your own place in this world. And maybe even what is not true to what this game ended up being when we finally saw it is maybe you can be all of these people. I know at the end we see the agent and we see you get into this badass car, Back to the Future style, and drive around. We see you pick up this weapon and then go making a name for yourself. But I don't really know what that name is. I don't really know who we are and what our place in this world is going to be. Obviously, we are probably going to be technically proficient. Obviously, we're going to be able probably to customize ourselves the way they do, but I think it would just like a little more of a lead into like, this is now going to be your place in this world.
Yeah.
And I think that was jarring for me and kind of missing from it, given how direct they were with the previous character we played from the studio as Geralt, that like, no, you have a very specific place in this world. And obviously freedom is something that I'm going to want in this to make my own decisions and forge my own path. But I would have liked a little bit more than like, oh yeah, and here's this dude that maybe you are, I don't know. Maybe a little more of a personal hold onto it.
Jones, I think that was a much better way of saying what I was trying to get at, where I wanted to see a little bit more of the ends, because I completely agree with you that it does a really good job of saying that this world is absolutely insane and there's so much going on. And while that's valuable by itself, I want to know that there's like some direction that I'm heading. I think even games with a lot of choice, like you mentioned The Witcher, for example, like you are driven by something. You are driven by a journey, a quest, and I think we don't need necessarily narrative, or we don't need a voiceover, but I just think something to kind of let me know, like, okay, I can't take all of this on at the same time as I'm going through the game, and so like, what's my starting point, or just something, some sort of anchor.
I think the question is for this panel, how much are we docking it? I am docking it a measly 0.2 for a 9.8 is my final score. I think I was so impressed with what they showed. I think they could have potentially gotten away with showing much less, given we had next to nothing. We just had this really, focus on one specific scene that we held on for like 3 years when we first saw that trailer. And to come back, was it like 5 years actually? Yeah. Was it 2013? We got a glimpse at that. So for them to show up, show something that I believe they do say game engine footage specifically in the trailer. Having seen the demo, I do buy it. I think it's a little glossier than potentially what you'll see in the finished product. But given how much visual information is in this, and given how much we see in just these tiny little vignettes that we are given, I was very impressed. What's your score, Michael Hebert?
Oh my God. This is really hard, because I can't find any criticisms. Like you guys say, you wanted a little more of maybe like an anchor, or just a little more of the character and stuff. And I don't want that. I think it's perfect. Just a day in the life of Cyberpunk 2077 for all the people that live there. I gotta follow my heart. And my God, I'm sorry, guys. I'm giving it a 10.
Do it.
I'm sorry. I have to. I don't want to be the hype man, but I'm sorry. I just think it's so good. I could watch it 100 times, Jones.
I'm still noticing new stuff, man. Like,
I think I'm going to give it a 9. Yeah, I know that this is going to be a video that when it goes up, like I'm going to think about what I said. I'm like, well, that's not really what I meant. And I'm going to give it another crack. And when I say anchor or a little bit of a tighter frame, I guess what I'm saying is I think Cyberpunk does a really great job of selling me kind of this grungy, gritty, futuristic world. And it looks awesome, and it looks really varied, and I think this is an extremely well-directed, well-edited trailer that's easy to watch, and it sucks you in, and the things that they're showing seem really fascinating. The guy, man, his face is on fire. Or or just the fight with some sort of like robot dummy thing. That seems really cool. However, just because everything happens so fast, it looks like a really, really good kind of futuristic world, but I feel like it's a mix of a bunch of different influences that I've seen before. Like I think when I step away from this trailer, I'm not like, oh man, I've never seen this idea before.
Sure.
Or and I don't think every single trailer needs to be innovative or it needs to show me something I've never seen before. It needs to be completely new, but it just seems like it's making a game that is going to be, in this trailer specifically, the 50 minutes that we saw is a totally different thing, but in this trailer specifically, it's just like a really, really, really great version of The Fifth Element and Blade Runner and all this stuff in video game form, and that's awesome. But it's not uniquely captivating, I guess.
That's fair. I was hoping for criticism. I was looking for criticism. That's why we are here. We're not talking about games. We're talking about trailers specifically. And even with the modest score of 9, it averages out to a 9.6 for the collective score of Cyberpunk 2077. So I'm happy to have Michael Huber here to discuss the second trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Trailer.
Because it is your nemesis returning, which is the potential hit or miss nature of producing a trailer that, granted, was immediately followed by some very, very tasty looks at actual gameplay of Beyond Good and Evil 2. But returning to this game that we weren't sure in the months leading up to E3 whether BG&E 2 was going to come back. And here we get not only another glimpse at that, some incredible story beats, a completely different venue, a bunch of new characters, and two really prominent gameplay character reveals if you are a fan of the original Beyond Good and Evil and are curious if you're going to see these characters return. To me, one of the things just personally that kind of offset me, and this is just like super nitpicky nonsense, like I'm not going to slam this down the table and say it's a fact, but like the swearing I thought got a little out of hand and I thought was just kind of like thrown away in the first trailer. I was like, all right, the 5th F-bomb, okay, slow down, like, all right. Just because for me it didn't have as much impact, like, you know.
It felt forced a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel a lot of tension in the, it's fun to see these characters pull off the heist that they did in the first trailer, but I didn't really feel that any of that was necessarily difficult for them. And while that was fun to watch, and I gotta be honest, the more I've gone back and watched that original BG&E 2 trailer, it's just a lot of fun. It's a really, really joyful vibe, and definitely teases just one of the biggest massive open worlds we have ever seen in games. A lot more stakes in this trailer. It's even potentially having the issues that I did with the first trailer, coming back and revisiting these characters we are seeing again, felt like coming home a little bit. I love not only the home vibe that we get from this ship, returning to a ship that we recognize in an environment that we don't, but we get this sense of distance between this one pilot ship that is floating around the bigger ship. And I am definitely tempted to see where that goes. I would love to just be navigating in this ship as we're communicating with the other ship and getting updates and scanning things and seeing them. We see just this incredible set piece moment that if I was to critique the trailer potentially, I think one of the big questions that I had leading into it is like, does this stuff happen in the game? Or like are we seeing a bunch of stuff that happens before the game? Is this going to be kind of necessary material that we're going to have to know going into this? Or is potentially negatively these huge cinematic set pieces that we're seeing now going to be taking away from actually playing these moments in the game? It's when we get to these levels like, oh, this is so cool, but like, man, it was so much cooler. Like when we saw it with, just the incredible power of these, gorgeous rendering, software that's producing all of these incredible visuals. But I got to admit, I love the pace. I think they achieve a lot in a very short amount of time. I think it did not overstay its welcome in its appearance at the Ubisoft press conference. And as is the question for really any trailer that you see, my hype level has gone up for a game I was already incredibly hyped of. And I got to be honest at this point, I don't know what the heck I'm going to score this puppy. Moving on to Michael Huber, what'd you think?
This sounds like a slight, but it's not. This is a cool short film.
Yes. Yeah,
you know, like it's... I bring up the CG trailer, and I know you're pumped, John, to talk about it, because some CG trailers honor the gameplay for sure.
Yeah.
And Beyond Good and Evil seems like it's going to do that. You know, it's selling this open world adventure and the cast, and I totally get that. But when you play the game, it's going to be nothing like this. That's why it's so hard for me to get really hyped on this short film, because when I put it aside, you know, when I watch it, I say, wow, this, like, if you had a Netflix series or a movie or anything, I would be there second one. If you came out with a Beyond Good and Evil series on Netflix, oh my goodness, I would binge that entire thing in one go, because this short film is incredible. There's adventure, action, excitement, drama, stakes. It has it all. But in my brain, it is separate from the game in a way. I know that's super weird, but for me personally, you know, like CG trailers like this, I just separate them from the game. It's not really selling me the game. It's selling me the IP. It's selling me the name Beyond Good and Evil, but it's not selling me on the game itself.
You talk about it being separate from the game, and I do think it is separate from the game. It is not a video game. It is trying to give you an idea of what the game is going to be like and establish a tone and establish a sense, really. And like, I think about, do people really only get upset about CG trailers when the game is bad, right? Like, maybe Beyond Good and Evil 2 is going to be bad. I don't know. Maybe it's good. But you think about, like, The Witcher 3 had CG trailers, right? Yeah. And the way Geralt moves in those CG trailers and the way the action is framed, like, you don't move like that in The Witcher 3. You know? So you could kind of extrapolate that and be like, hey, you know, this is not accurate to what I'm seeing. But what the trailer accomplishes is it lets me know kind of the tension I feel when Geralt is facing off against his foes, the kind of flavor of the world. And I don't think it's like doing wrong by the game. So I don't necessarily think it's some
it's not
grievous sin just to have a CD trailer.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's
or a short movie.
I'm not like mad at them for like, yo, CG, this is false advertising. It's just the way my brain works. Like, I don't see the game from this, you know. And aside from like a few couple off cam images that we've seen of the game, like, I still have really no idea what it is, other than a big, grand space adventure, which is awesome, you know? But
I think I enjoy this trailer more than the first trailer, but I think the first trailer gives you a much clearer idea of what the game is going to be. You see grapple mechanics, you see them hijacking a plane, you know, even though we get more of a deep dive in with these characters and just kind of what it's like to live on this ship, we do see these characters very briefly at the end of the first trailer. I think the thing for me that's tough, because it's like, I just don't know. I have so many thoughts and emotions swirling around E3, and I think I'm going to go with maybe a higher score for this trailer than I should, just because of how dramatically involved I am with this trailer.
Right.
Just the gut reaction that I get when she spins that ship around, looks into that giant wave of who knows what, ice crystals, whatever, and just hits the gas and goes flying into it. Like, I just love that the nature of that threat, and just the reveal of these two characters that I was totally thinking, like, maybe they're not in it. Maybe Jade and Paige aren't in this game. I don't know. And it has been so long since I played Beyond Good and Evil that I have very serious questions about, like, this is a prequel? Okay. There's a lot, especially with Jade, to get through in this game if you're going to drop her off in the beginning of Beyond Good and Evil, and potentially bring us back to that point. I think the thing that stands clear for me, if I was Ubisoft, if I was the team, you know, putting this game together and trying to get not only people excited about this game and not only trying to present it in the best possible way I could every single moment, but reintroducing people to this story, making people, like, it's not just enough that we sell this game from a technical level. We really need you to know and care for these characters, so that even though we don't necessarily replay all of these story beats moment for moment, even if this stuff kind of loosely leads up to the story that will begin, you know, when you first start playing this game, even if we find ourselves with the advertising campaign a year later and we're like, wait a minute, remember that weird, like, Ring Snow trailer we got a couple years ago? Like, yeah, what happened to that? And they're like, yeah, that was just kind of a test thing. I definitely get a sense that like they love these characters and like they really, really want you to smell the food that Paige is doing. They want you to feel what it's like to get these weird little needles put in you and just be like, what is her job on this ship? You know, when she's doing acupuncture and you know, what is a day in the life of these people? And I think just in the short amount of time that we get, I think it is an emotional ride that even sitting down watching it right now with no volume, I still feel. So I'm going to settle on a 9 for this, just because I thought I was excited to see Bee Genie 2 again. I was excited to see, you know, where this trailer was going, and I think they wrapped up with probably my biggest question, which is, are we going to be reunited with these characters? And then just the absolute scariest thing that you see, the character you were playing as in the original is now an antagonist. And you know, spoilers, they both survive, you know, or who knows, because they are in the first Bee Genie. But I have questions. I love the people on this ship more than I thought I would at this point. And I have faith in this project, disregarding the fact that we saw some awesome gameplay after this. Ben, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, you said something that I thought was interesting, and you're like, we've kind of talked about how this maybe is giving you a confusing sense of what the game is going to be like, or you're worried that when you actually play this, it's not going to be as good as the trailer. And I don't necessarily think that this is trying to sell the game. I think this is trying to sell the story.
Yeah.
I think those are two very, very, very different things where not everybody feels this way, but I certainly feel this way. Like, I don't mind cutscenes if used effectively. Mm-hmm. And so if the first time I meet Jade in the game, if it's a cutscene and it's awesome, that doesn't bother me at all. And so I don't think I'm sitting back and being like, oh man, I need to play through beat by beat every single thing here. What I feel like what this trailer is trying to convince me is, hey, we want you to care. Mm-hmm. And this is drawing me in the way that it's using both the new characters and the returning characters, the tension that it's able to like, I'm nervous when they get on that ship. I'm like, who are they going to meet? And then the reveal of Jade, it's just so well done. The scale of that ship, that thing looks monstrous.
Yeah, it's scary.
That is like a ship monster that is like eating you.
And scale is like one of the major things that they show off whenever we see gameplay of this game.
Right.
And so when they show this giant ship, I just have a feeling it's like, we promise. Like, we know what the emotions you get from seeing something like that. That's exactly where we want you to be.
Right. And beyond that, like, I think this would still be a strong trailer if they started with the explosion and they just went on from there. But the fact that you get a little bit of that coziness, the fact that you get them playing chess with some weird machine, the fact that you see Paige cooking and him reaching up to the dirty bottles, I think just does a tremendous job of giving you the sense of what it's going to be like on the ship. Man, not to be a broken record here, but yeah, I think I'm going to go 9 as well.
What do you say, Huber?
I'm so torn because on one hand, it's like, you know, I don't want to put everything in a box. And it's like, yo, Beyond Good and Evil, this has been a long road for this game. It is in a different space than like...
Space.
Yeah. It's not just... Like, if Call of Duty all of a sudden came out with like a CG trailer, it'd be weird because it's like, yo, the Call of Duty comes out every year. Why are you showing me a CG trailer right now? I'm very torn because I really, really, really enjoy everything I see. I really enjoy it. It's definitely selling me on the characters. It's selling me on the world. But it's not 100% selling me on the game itself because I'm not seeing the game. So I'm going to go with 7.7 to avoid the 7.8 meme.
Dropping it.
Lean into the meme.
Considerably.
I'm sorry.
To an 8.6.
I apologize.
Which is still a dynamite score.
Yeah, it's
still one of the
a very
best
good
trailers.
score. Yeah.
Go with your
Sorry.
gut, man. Go with your gut. I tell you what, as we're moving on to the third trailer we're going to talk about, I want your gut and nothing else.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
I'm sure. So,
I can't breathe.
Huber's emotional. I'm emotional. There's a lot that we saw, there were many different moments of Resident Evil 2 throughout my experience at E3. There was this trailer, there was the gameplay trailer that I saw later after it initially premiered. And I think somebody on social media was like, "Have you seen the gameplay trailer?" I think chat was just screaming while we were online, where they're like, "There's a gameplay trailer too, show the game," and like our mods kept being like, "Huber knows. They're just gonna get through this one little discussion, and then we will show the gameplay trailer so Huber can see that." When any news for Resident Evil happens, we obviously want to know what Huber has to think. When Resident Evil 2 is revealed, we want to know what Huber has to think. I specifically wanted to talk about this reveal trailer because it's the reveal, man. You are sitting in the Capcom offices, Huber. You are with this team that knows exactly what game they're selling. You didn't know what the game was going to be like. They do. They know it's going to look like Resident Evil 7. It's going to have the HUD of RE7. It's going to feel more like RE2 really than anything else, but it's going to have the movement and some of the shooting mechanics from RE4. It's going to take so many of the best moments from the history of this franchise and try to bundle them all at once. But at the end of the day, it's Leon, it's Raccoon City, it's the city itself, it's the police station, and where do we start? You know, if we're gonna tease people, how long do we tease? You guys guessed this way earlier than I thought you were. I had no idea what this was until I finally saw Leon. I was like, oh, okay, and you guys called it way earlier than I did. Looking back, trying to take away the gameplay demo, trying to take away the other gameplay trailer, focusing specifically on the things that are shown in this trailer, how was this reveal?
Phenomenal reveal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I will give Kyle credit for that weird circular shot and then like out of the car window.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Kyle's in my head now.
Is the car flying? What's going on?
Phenomenal reveal because you have the PlayStation 1 there, which I didn't notice, and that's why I think it took me so long to realize also. You have the PS1 there, and it's not forcing it in. It's not like... It doesn't feel forced. It's just like stealthily
nice
there.
Nice little
subtlety.
clue.
And the POV from the rat has context. The rats are the carriers of the G virus.
Yes.
And you have... and then you see that first zombie just eating that guy brutally. I mean, that's the scariest zombie I've seen since Resident Evil Remake. Like, I'm gonna go on record and just say that. And then you have Leon busting into the room, saying "Jesus Christ," which is a hilariously awesome first thing to say because that's probably what I would say if I was in this situation. So I think the reveal itself was awesome. When the hammer drops and you see Leon and you finally know it's Resident Evil 2.
Ben, were you satisfied with this as a reveal for Resident Evil 2? It's short. It's a quick one.
Yeah.
It is in a press conference, so that is to be expected, that you're not going to get a super lengthy trailer. Is there anything you expected or want out of this trailer, having seen it a couple times now?
Yeah, this is the hardest one for me, Brandon, because in a way I think this is my favorite trailer of the show. Because the highs are so good. The rat I thought was brilliant. I love the way that they slowly revealed Leon. I love the shot of the police department. That shot is just a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. And the highs are so high that I think it makes me notice the lows way more and things where I'm like, man, I wish they didn't do that way, or I wish they would have changed this a little bit. And so it's hard
the PS1,
because
man.
it's giving me
Close up on the PS1, which I don't think I noticed.
I know. Yeah. That's when that was the moment.
There.
There are just a couple of things that are really bothering me.
Claire.
About it. Yes, that's it.
The
You nailed it.
disrespect.
Thank you.
Yeah, the disrespect of Claire in this trailer. It's really saying like, yo, this is... It's almost saying it's like, yo, this is Leon's game because he's in Resident Evil 4 and other Resident Evils, so he's just the main character, and, you know, it almost feels like Claire and Sherry's campaign is, you know, second to this. It's a partnership, you know? Like, Resident Evil 2 is...
It's uneven.
Leon and Claire, both of them together sharing in the journey, and this felt very Leon-focused.
Yep. And I don't have a problem with it being Leon-focused for this trailer. That's fine. But the way that they choose to incorporate Claire feels really awkward and shuffled. And it's like, really? Like, she's just looking up and she looks a little bit weird and she's animating
It
weirdly.
would have been
and it
better if
just
they
doesn't-
didn't show her at all. I
Yeah,
think.
or
Yes.
if there was,
and then have this be the Leon trailer,
Yes.
and then give us Claire later on.
Exactly.
I think it would make sense to have some sort of nod to Claire, to be like no, she's still here, don't worry. But just the way that they showed her face felt very jarring in the
Yeah.
trailer. It's just
It was weird.
I feel like this was almost kind of an attempt. I don't know if they were inspired by it, but it like reminds me of when we saw Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was one of those moments where like, are they doing it? Are they doing it? And I think with Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was kind of that slow build up to like, wait a minute. And it wasn't until we saw the Buster Sword and we saw it remake, that word hit, that we knew. With this, it's Leon. And so what I like that this trailer does is we get that confirmation that, yeah, it's Leon. And then we get like a series of other confirmations on top of that. We're like, yeah, we're getting into the city. Yeah, look at the exterior of some of this stuff. Yes, that we are going to have potentially a different perspective. I think you could probably tell that this was not going to be a fixed camera perspective from just looking at this trailer. So even though we don't see gameplay, I think it is very truthful of what the game is going to be. Lots of teases of rooms that you might be familiar with, characters that they haven't really shown a lot of. And so I do appreciate that. Just these little flashes, trusting that people can appreciate the imagery, that they don't hold on it for too long for people that either did not play Resident Evil 2 or maybe not huge Resident Evil fans, that are just horror fans, that maybe like, hey, I played RE7 and liked it, and that was my first Resident Evil game. Maybe I'll dig RE2 at the same time. But Claire is just so weird, man.
Yeah,
it's
weird, really weird.
It's such a low moment, especially considering if you had just had a moment of Birkin, Sherry, of just Sherry just looking, just kind of turning, and then Claire looking down at her, I think would have resonated so much more. But considering how much I love the opening, how much I think it not only is just a huge tease because you're like, we're a rat or what? And now we're on a shelf. What? There's so many what could this be moments that even when you go back and look at it later, I think I was worried going back and watching this trailer that's just like, oh, the beginning of this is going to be a snooze because all it's doing is building up to the reveal of what it is.
Sound.
But the sounds are really great, kind of fitting into the moment of like, when did this take place and who are we listening to? And like, knowing what I know about Resident Evil, who is this character that is getting taken out here? What room are we in? And I think furthermore, it speaks to the detail that they're trying to put forth in this game, that like, this isn't us just making RE2 look better. We want this to be the best looking our Resident Evil game that you've played. And so really getting close to these objects and, being able to read the text on these products that we're seeing and getting this perspective and really just kind of changing up the format of not only what Resident Evil trailers can be, but Resident Evil games. Makes me wonder, wow, there's a crazy rat sequence. I don't know, and I think it just
VR rat sequence.
Furthermore, having played the game and being so surprised and having them really like upend so many expectations that we have going into another Resident Evil game and even a remake of Resident Evil 2, I think the beginning kind of does that. It's just being like, things, just expectations are gone, man. Yeah. But that Claire part is super weird, 8.5.
I'll tell you what bumps it up big time, other than the most beautiful shot I've ever seen in my entire life. That is the liquor shot.
That is
honestly
amazing.
The most beautiful.
Yeah.
If like cut that
the
frame out,
with the tail,
with the tongue, tongue down.
Tongue,
yeah,
of course.
That one image alone is now going to be with me for the rest of my entire life, and I love it. But what really bumps it up a few ticks is the respect for Mr. X in this trailer.
He's presented beautifully.
Beautifully. And like, Mr. X, I feel like when a lot of people think of Resident Evil 2, you think of Ada and Leon and Claire and Birkin.
And the Lickers.
And the Lickers, of course. I feel like Mr. X has a big following, but also not really. So for them to kind of lean into him like he's just this big menace, I thought was it was really, really surprising and really cool that they showed Mr. X like 2 or 3 times in this trailer, and that really made me happy.
There's a moment I remember when I was first playing through Resident Evil 2 on the N64, and just like Mr. X crashed into the scene, and like that sharp but very quick jump that you do when your system is just completely shocked, and I'm thinking about what that's gonna be like in the goddamn remake.
Yeah,
especially them knowing they're like, we know it's gonna be right here, and it is not. It's coming, but it's not now. Maybe it's gonna be earlier than we're expecting. It's gonna be later than we're expecting.
I also really love the familiarity of shots. Even the shot in the very beginning, near the beginning, Jones, when the zombies are walking and you see a highway sign, "Welcome to Raccoon City." Mm-hmm. That's so cool because that shot is in the opening cinematic. Mm-hmm. You know, you see them drive by that sign, and I think it's so cool to see the kind of the zombies walking there because it's just a new twist on familiar imagery, which is what this remake's all about, you know, kind of just keeping it slightly off balance. It's really, really hard for me not to give this trailer a 10, but I will be critical for Jones. I'm trying to be unbiased here and you know,
criticizing the trailer,
criticizing,
not the game.
exactly. So because of the way Claire was handled in this, I'm gonna go with 9.5.
I'm so frustrated with myself because I feel like all I did was rag on the Cyberpunk trailer, and I think it's an amazing trailer. I actually, like, if I could go back and change my score, I'd probably give it like a 9.2, 9.3. Keep Beyond Good and Evil 2 at a 9. Because like comparing this to the Cyberpunk trailer, just the way that it was edited and the way that it conducted itself from beginning to end, I don't know how I would change that shot to make it better. Like, maybe there's some more stuff I would want added in, but what they presented, I thought was presented beautifully. The Claire stuff, just the Claire shot in particular, felt like it, not only was it awkward, but it felt like they hung on to it for way too long. And we talked about the twisting at the beginning, and the more that I watch this, the more that it drives me insane. Because like it's not an interest. Well, you take a look at it, and it's not interesting on its own. Like, it's too dark. It doesn't really give you a good sense of a city in turmoil. It's twisting for no reason. The twisting adds nothing.
I mean, you do kind of get the sense that like this town has been turned upside down. That kind of vibe.
But even that is like awkward and weird
and cheesy,
like,
and
yeah.
Because there's another part where they twist, and it's showing. Is it Sherry through the window?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. Yeah,
that one's weird.
And
guys. That's some
New
theories,
character?
but that's
anyway, they show this girl outside the window, and again, it's twisting for no reason. And at 2 points, they're doing that, and I don't feel like it really adds anything because they do so many like good close shots from different perspectives, from above, from far away, like at the sides of the characters, and I think they're just so interesting and they blend into each other so well. But when you see in like the middle of the trailer and it's just twisting staring at this girl, it doesn't feel dramatic to me. It just feels a little disorienting, and I don't like the way that it was presented. But man, as far as like individual moments, what Huber was talking about, the liquor and even just the blood on the statue and how tight it is on that is so good. And the rats, as we've discussed to death already, it's hard, but I think just as a trailer, I have the most problem with this. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it could have cut just like a second and a half sooner, and I think it would have been better. Twist just a little bit too much for me. But like that's amazing. And think about how quick that is and how much it shows you. They hang on some stuff just a little bit too long in this for me. I'm going to go with an 8.4. Nope. Nope. I'm going to go with an 8.
All right.
Oh,
That's fair. I will accept score changes while we were talking about the score, but once we move on to another trailer, you're locking it in.
Yeah.
okay.
I can be very indecisive.
Sorry to inflate your numbers here, Jones.
It's tough. Hey, score trailers is not something that we do. Hey,
Out of my wheelhouse.
That's why I had you on. I pick my scores knowing that they are going to be offset in a particular direction. And even though Ben dropped down to an 8.0 to counter my 8.5 and Huber's 9.5, and 8.7 is what we rest on.
Nice.
And I think that's the thing that I like about three people scoring trailers and us averaging it, is we always seem to find a score that I think is the right score.
Yeah.
I think 8.7 is the score.
It's very nice.
Wrapping up our E3 discussion with a very fun trailer
What a
and also
treat.
a very horrifying trailer at the same time. Yeah, a treat, says Michael Huber. This is something that actually you can see, I believe, segmented on its own on Nintendo's website. So even though it was the conclusion of the press conference, or of the gigantic Super Smash Bros. Ultimate demo that we got, it is a tradition for every time we get a new Smash Brothers, for them to do very, very fun, clever reveals. Previously, for Smash Brothers Ultimate, we got to see the Inklings facing off against each other in just kind of this white blank palette environment, which turns black and gets creepy, much like the creepiness present in this trailer. And then the big reveal, not only that they are in Smash, but of the new Smash itself. And then we get, and then we get this reveal of Ridley. So we get this scary but playful intro, and we get, as we often do, several gameplay examples of seeing Ridley in action. To introduce the conversation, I might not be the best person because I do not have, even though I firmly believe in the history of trailers themselves, Smash Brothers is one of the elites as far as how deep they are willing to go in their advertising, and how playful they are and how much fun they have, clearly, in showing off all of this stuff. And the Ridley reveal was not necessarily one that I was like anticipating. You know, like I do not have a very direct, honest relationship with the Metroid series. It is something that I've loved from afar, but like I never played Super Metroid all the way through.
Damn.
I know. I have not played any of the Metroid Prime games. Like I consider myself fairly distant from the series, partly by choice, but it is definitely something that I've wanted to correct over time. Not actual gameplay footage. You gotta love at the beginning of the trailer. I think maybe one of the things to offer some criticism, just maybe not to kick off the conversation, but just to offer my own unique take as someone who is distant from Metroid and distant from Smash Brothers, is one of the things that I loved. I think one of my favorite reveals that I just got over the top was Mega Man, when that was revealed for Smash Brothers. And Ben, if you remember that reveal, they're on like a crazy like rock planet surface. And it really wasn't until you saw his shadow that it was like, it's Mega Man. Where I think because of all of the not leaks, but because of all the rumors going into not only who they were going to announce specifically for this game, but who was next on the list to be announced in general for Smash Brothers, the second you see this sci-fi environment, you see the dark tone, you see them on the bridge, we kind of know, right? And so it's like, I like the drawn out fear of them wondering who's going to show up, but like I missed that. Who's it going to be until that moment of the final reveal? And for me, that was sapped away a little bit. Am I out of my mind? What did you think, Ben?
No, I see where you're coming from. I guess I just think to my initial reaction to this, where I actually think the way that they presented it, where they're way up above and you just sort of see the tops of their heads. And I'm like, is that, because it's so far away, I'm like, is that Mario? Is that Mega Man? Why would they be here? This isn't a place where they hang out. And then they show the feet, and I love cutting from that into the feet and being like, oh no, wait, I think it definitely is them. And so just very quickly coming to that realization, I don't think it needed to be more than it was, because the setting itself was jarring enough that it was kind of exciting to second guess yourself with what you thought you were seeing. And there's, in the beginning of this trailer, there's so much goodness going on. The way, how quickly and how viciously, obviously, Mega Man and Mario get stabbed. But even better than that is how Samus deals with it. Doesn't turn around, just kind of lets out a sigh and closes her eyes. And like, you know how the relationship between the two of them with just that look, just the way that she closes her eyes, and even better when you see Ridley reflecting in her visor. It makes it feel like an even bigger, more menacing threat than it already did when it stabbed Mario and Mega Man. There is something I super don't like about, like, look at that shot. That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
There's something
big time too is the best.
I super don't like, and it's the hat spin. When Ridley is taking Mario's hat and just spinning it around on his finger, and I think what they're trying to do, especially after it comes with the Smash font and the Ridley joins the fray, is they're trying to be like, yeah, hey, it's Smash Brothers. It's not a super serious game.
It's like, let's have it. It's Nintendo thought it was way too intense without the hat spin.
Right.
They needed the hat spin to like make it more playful.
Right. But I think the problem that I have with that is, if you're gonna just go into the gameplay, it makes it playful already. Where
Yeah.
I think I would have appreciated the hat spin after the little gameplay montage. It just would have worked a little bit better. But when you have that much seriousness up front, I kind of want to keep that on its own. And it's just like this cheesy, lame thing that I don't think Ridley would ever do. And when you have him so in character in the beginning of the trailer, just don't do that right there. It just threw me
that
off.
out.
Yeah.
I can get that. I get that. I see.
Like
that.
I think you can take away the hat spinning, and it's just as strong of a trailer, if not stronger.
Yeah, I love the intro. Love the feet. Seeing the feet, I think, is just such a cool shot. It's so cool. We see Samus's feet, Mario's feet, Mega Man's feet walking. I eat that up. I love it. And boy, oh boy, Nintendo, you got dark with this. Just
It's surprising.
offing Mega Man and Mario. We can joke about it, and it's like a meme and stuff, but like, it's really intense. This is like a hard R rating, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original movie style, dude. Like, taking it to the next level, taking it to the extremes. And then I love that we see gameplay. We see Ridley's moves. You know, you see the Metroid and the fireball and the dash grab. We see the arsenal, which I really appreciate. And then you come back full circle at the end with Samus out of her suit, you know, coming at Ridley, ready to brawl. So I think it's solid. I think it's cool. Oh, we see the final smash, which is nuts. Dragon Ball levels right there.
The other shot that I love is when you see Mario's hat, and it's kind of like angled upward at Samus, being like, "This is what you lost. This is how powerful that I am.
So
that I have
heavy.
Reduced like one of the most iconic characters to nothing more than a hat."
Yeah, the
it's
fact that
just so
Nintendo
good.
was willing to let that happen, you know, is crazy. Awesome.
To me, my score is possibly going to be lower. I'm actually curious to see. I might change it depending on what you guys think, because I trust your scores of this much more than me. I'm comparing this not necessarily to my expectations of how Ridley should be approached in this game, just from the amazing trailers that they've done so far. So, like, I'm not scoring this because I think Ridley deserved better, potentially, even though I do have a couple more nitpicky notes, but because I think that Mega Man is just absolutely tops. I mean, you remember him switching to all of his different modes, really not only just quickly taking out these two specific characters, but just like, you know, smacking down Mario, smacking down Donkey Kong. Like, to me, that was much more of a glorious reveal. And from the limited knowledge that I have of Smash Brothers, the vibe I got from that Mega Man reveal, just to draw a direct comparison, was, you know, Mega Man, there's a lot to this character. Look at all the stuff that you can do. Look how deep we got into this character, knowing all of the stuff that we would have to do to represent them in this game. Kind of similar to Snake. Like, really look at all the specific gameplay mechanics that we are taking from Metal Gear and adding to Smash. And the vibe I get from Ridley is almost, we did it. You know, it's like, this is a request, for a long time. Obviously, there is the hero-antagonist relationship with Samus and Ridley that is demonstrated in multiple ways, from the final smash to the opening, to my favorite moment, I think, in the entire trailer, which is Kirby with the Samus helmet on, bumping into Ridley. But I don't necessarily get from this trailer, not only look that we did Ridley, but look what Ridley can do in this game. I don't know if we get that, right? I don't know if there's, like, it's neat to see gameplay, and they do that a lot, and it's so gratifying, especially after the CG intro, to get those moments. But I don't know if there's that one thing where you're like, whoa, look at that.
The final smash is that.
The final smash is great. But it's not unprecedented for final smashes to be big and theatrical and over the top.
Yes, but we've got, 65 characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and most of them we know. And we've seen all those final smashes. Like, that is one of the most spectacular, most over-the-top final smashes that I've ever seen. And think about the characters that you're up against and the final smashes that you're up against. Like, that final smash is insane.
It really is.
Like, look at what this character can do.
There's also something that warms my heart, just seeing Ridley in Bayonetta's world. It's just something about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just like, this is happening. This is real.
I love that you see her eye when it flies past her face really quickly when she pulls out her gun to point at Ridley behind her, right after she does the her little breath to herself, and then spins around. You pull out of her eye through her helmet into that pose. Admittedly, I'm just a little soft on the reveal because, like I said, we guessed it so early, and I like my Smash reveals
Just
to really have
grab
us
Sonic
guessing.
and drug him across the entire stage.
Right.
Like killing icons.
Yeah.
You
Right,
know?
right. Stabbing. Okay.
Clearly a
Just
villain.
stab-
Clearly walking into this world as a villain.
Yeah.
And acting
Just
thusly.
stabbed Link. Link goes limp. We look at Link's limp body for a
disappointment and
moment.
failure of Link.
Yeah. That is vicious.
It's like the darkest I've ever seen Nintendo go.
And because I think there were so many tiny details, one of the other reasons why I'm not just like over the moon about this trailer is because I think there's so many little tiny details that made up what Nintendo was putting forth with Smash at E3. This was their tentpole game. This was their major game that they were showing at the show. This was the game that was getting the most attention at the booth. And I think, when you add up these little tiny announcements, this was the biggest singular announcement from that. And so for that reason, I did expect a little more. I still think the production values are over the top. I still think it fits up there in the grand pantheon of all the character reveals that they've done. But I do think that they've done a better job. And for someone that is not necessarily as into Metroid or Smash Brothers as others, potentially looking for those things that would bring me into it, 8.9 is where I'm going to wrap up. Whoa. But I'm curious what your scores are to see if was it higher than you were thinking?
It's high. Yeah.
Okay.
That was
I thought you were-
way higher than
Yeah.
I thought.
I
I thought we
you
were
were
looking at
going-
like a 7 something.
Yeah.
Okay, but what are your scores? Because I might adjust. I don't know.
I was hovering around like the 8-ish range, like
Okay.
8.1, 8.2,
All right.
8.3 type of range.
Okay.
Really love how dark it is, unbelievably dark and violent, for Nintendo. And I think I love going from the CG trailer into Ridley's moves. But it's, we just see a couple moves and move on, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that, and it is what it is. So I think I'm going to stick with 8.2. You get in and you get out with this trailer, which I appreciate. And it tells a story. It does hype up how villainous Ridley is. Like,
for sure.
big kid on the block coming to town to just destroy everyone.
And also, like the Samus flip at the end. I'm not sure what's going on there. I
Just
don't know if we
the-
necessarily needed that. Oh, the zero suit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zero suit hype.
Thought it was cool.
Zero suit hype.
Yeah, man. Huber, the one thing that I was really disagreeing with you there is just being like, yeah, we see a couple moves and we get out. Like, to me, what pairs so well with the CG at the beginning and showing off the moves is you see this and you're like, holy shit, Mega Man and Mario just got stabbed.
Yeah.
Ridley seems just absolutely menacing and vicious and brutal. I hope it plays that way.
Yeah.
And then you see a moveset that completely reinforces that. Oh shit, I'm lighting Donkey Kong on fire.
Right.
I'm stabbing Link and he's limp on the ground. I'm
Yeah.
dragging Sonic across the entire stage and throwing him off. I'm throwing you on Samus's ship and I'm blasting you in the face. To me, that's like more exciting
Yeah.
than what we saw in the CG trailer. Like, I think that is a pretty.
point.
I think when you see a character showing off their moves, what you want to walk away from is, I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to drag whoever you play across the stage as Ridley. And I think that's awesome. However, that hat spin really bothers me for some reason. I just don't.
Does Ridley hits the big time mean anything in Metroid? Is that just their weird?
No,
Do
I
those-
think it's just referencing Ridley's size.
Well, but that's another thing too that kind of underwhelms me, that we go from this gigantic Ridley that we know and love to this admittedly smaller version that has to exist in this game.
For sure.
We can't be just like, Super Bowser the entire time.
I
Giga
yeah,
Bowser? What? Giga Bowser, sorry.
I'm with you, Brandon. And I think the compromise is, hey, if you're gonna shrink him down, make it worth it. And to me, it's like, okay, if I can do the moves in this way that I probably couldn't if I was
Right.
much bigger, it's like I'm willing to make that trade.
You know what vibes I get from this, Huber? I get Xenomorph vibes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Definitely a strong alien presence
that's-
here.
For sure.
What's that
That's
score going to be,
Metroid
Ben?
right there.
For the record, I'm going to drop mine to an 8.4. I think I'm still a little just in general. I just love Smash. I just love the way they do stuff. So I will, even though I'm not nutso for this franchise.
I mean, nothing's gonna
I'll
beat
settle a
that
little
mega
higher
than
reveal,
Ben.
but
And I'm
Or
gonna
a little
pump mine
higher
up
than
to
Huber, sorry.
8.4.
What?
Yeah, because
Okay.
Ben made a great point about the moveset. That really resonated with me.
All right.
I like it. I agree. The savage moves that he does.
I'm going to go with an 8.9. Man. The
strain. It's okay. It's okay. If you just accept it, we get to wrap up this long
All
day
right,
of shooting that
okay,
we've had,
all
and you
right.
get to go home, Ben.
Okay. It's 1:45 in the morning.
14-hour
Because
day.
an 8.6 is where we settle on this, which I think is a wonderful average for this incredible trailer from a wonderful showing from Nintendo. And those are 4 trailers. Thank you so much to everybody. People were screaming about Sekiro. People were screaming about Sable. I got an Ace Combat 7 recommendation. People really, really wanted us to do Quiet Man. I mean, they really wanted us to... Is that what a Quiet Man? They really wanted us to maybe, like, poke at a trailer and laugh at it. But, like, just after E3, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And especially
is
given
good,
all the
sweet.
conversations that we've had about all of the games and all the demos and stuff like that, I just love to sit down and just specifically talk about the trailers and score them. So a big thanks to Michael Huber and Ben Moore after this exhausting day that we've had of shoots to saddle up with me and talk about 4 of the craziest E3 trailers that we saw. Again, Trailer Jones is a monthly show. We will see you in the month of July for 3 more trailers. Thanks for watching.